Long, long ago, in a peaceful village surrounded by green mountains, there lived a kind old man and his wife. Their small wooden home stood beside rice fields that changed beautifully with the seasons. Although they were not rich, they lived a quiet and comfortable life. Every evening, they watched the sunset together and gave thanks for another peaceful day. The old man was known throughout the village for his gentle heart. He always greeted his neighbors kindly and treated every living creature with respect. Birds, rabbits, and even stray cats seemed to trust him. His warm smile brought comfort wherever he went. One spring morning, while walking along a forest path, the old man heard a faint chirping sound. He followed the sound and discovered a tiny sparrow lying beneath a bush. The little bird appeared injured and unable to fly. The old man knelt beside it with concern. "Oh, you poor little thing," he said softly. Carefully, he picked up the sparrow and wrapped it gently in a cloth. The tiny bird trembled slightly but did not resist. The old man carried it home in his hands. Back at the house, he prepared a warm and comfortable place for the sparrow to rest. He brought fresh water and small grains for it to eat. Every day he checked on the little bird. Gradually, the sparrow grew stronger. Several days passed. The sparrow's wings healed little by little. Soon, it was hopping happily around the room. The old man smiled each time he saw its cheerful energy. Before long, the sparrow became completely healthy. Every morning, it greeted the old man with bright and happy chirps. The tiny bird often perched on his shoulder. The old man laughed whenever it tickled his ear. The sparrow followed him almost everywhere. When he worked in the garden, the sparrow hopped nearby. When he rested beneath a tree, the sparrow rested beside him. The two became inseparable friends. Sometimes they sat together and watched the clouds drift across the sky. The sparrow sang sweet songs, while the old man listened peacefully. The gentle music seemed to make every day brighter. Their friendship grew stronger with each passing day. One morning, the old man left home to work in the fields. The sparrow remained behind at the house. As usual, it fluttered happily around the kitchen. Everything seemed peaceful. That day, the old woman was preparing starch paste for washing clothes. She carefully placed the bowl on the table. Then she stepped outside to do some chores. The house became quiet. The curious sparrow noticed the bowl. It hopped onto the table and peered inside. The paste smelled interesting. Before long, the little bird began pecking at it. One peck became two. Two pecks became many. Without realizing it, the sparrow ate every last bit of the paste. The bowl was completely empty. When the old woman returned, she stared in disbelief. She had worked hard to prepare the paste. Seeing the empty bowl made her very angry. The sparrow looked up nervously. In her frustration, the old woman scolded the sparrow harshly. The frightened bird fluttered toward the door. A moment later, it flew away. The old woman stood silently as the sparrow disappeared into the distance. That evening, the old man returned home from working in the fields, but he did not hear the cheerful chirping he always expected to hear. The house was unusually quiet. A feeling of worry began to grow in his heart. When the old woman explained what had happened, the old man became very sad. "The little sparrow must have been frightened," he said softly. Without wasting a moment, he set out to search for his friend. He wanted to make sure the sparrow was safe. The old man walked across open fields, followed winding forest paths, and climbed mountain trails. As he traveled, he gently called, little sparrow, where are you?" After walking for a long time, he suddenly heard the joyful songs of birds in the distance. The cheerful voices drifted through the wind from deep within a bamboo grove. Filled with hope, the old man followed the sound. When he passed through the bamboo grove, he discovered a beautiful village unlike anything he had ever seen. Tiny houses stood in neat rows, and colorful flowers bloomed everywhere. It was a village inhabited by sparrows. Just then, a small sparrow flew toward him. It was the very sparrow he had rescued. "Old man," it seemed to chirp with excitement. The little bird fluttered happily around him. The sparrow introduced the old man to its friends. The sparrow villagers were delighted to meet him. "Welcome. Thank you for coming." Their cheerful greetings filled the village. That evening, the sparrows held a grand feast in honor of the old man. Delicious food covered the tables. There were songs, dances, and joyful performances. The entire village was filled with warm smiles and laughter. The old man joined in the singing, laughed with the sparrows, and enjoyed every moment of the celebration. He was happiest of all to be reunited with his dear friend. The evening felt like a beautiful dream. Soon, morning arrived. It was time for the old man to return home. The sparrows looked sad to see him leave. The old man was reluctant to say goodbye as well. Before he left, the sparrows brought out 2 treasure boxes. One was small, and the other was large. "Please accept one as a gift of gratitude," they said. The humble old man smiled. "The small one is more than enough for me," he replied. So he chose the smaller box. The sparrows nodded happily and gave him a warm farewell. When the old man returned home, the old woman was relieved to see him. Together, they opened the small treasure box. To their amazement, gold coins, sparkling jewels, and beautiful treasures poured out one after another. The couple could hardly believe their eyes. But the treasure was not what made the old man happiest. What mattered most was seeing his beloved sparrow again and knowing that it was safe and healthy. The old woman also reflected on her actions and felt sincere regret. From that day on, the old couple lived even more kindly than before. Sometimes they would pause and listen to the distant songs of sparrows drifting through the sky. Together, they shared memories of their wonderful adventure. As the setting sun painted the rice fields gold, the two smiled peacefully. And so, this story of kindness, gratitude, and friendship was passed down for many generations. The end.